Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 123, and it took place in Seattle when I was home visiting my family. A little backstory on the episode. In April, for my birthday, my big brother got me a weekend intensive course with David Razowsky, his improv class. David, of course, is a very well-known improv coach. He's an actor, a writer. He has the podcast ADD Comedy with Dave Razowsky. Really funny guy, excellent teacher. Anyway, so I went to Seattle and my brother and I took this class and I had a blast. I'd never done improv before. My brother's been doing it for a really long time. He's great at it, and it was the weirdest thing because somewhere in the beginning of, probably March maybe? I don't even remember exactly what, but I woke up this one morning and I thought to myself, I really want to try improv. So I Googled Nashville improv, and there were classes that were going on, but unfortunately they were during a time when I couldn't do them because I was traveling so much. So I was like, bummer, I really want to take improv classes. And within an hour or two, my brother called, he texted. Maybe he called. Now I can't remember which it was. But he said, hey, this guy David Razowsky's coming into Seattle around your birthday. I'd like to get you, if you're interested, a weekend learning from him improv. This is so crazy because I didn't tell my brother that I was wanting to do it. Man, the prayer was answered. I made the request to do improv, and within a couple hours, my brother was calling, gifting me with this experience. And it was delightful. I had so much fun. Aside from the fact that it was a wonderful bonding time with me and my brother, it was just really cool to experience the class. I loved it so much that David was back in Seattle in August, and I went back for a whole week. I got to study improv with David and the rest of the class. And again, it was a blast. And he was very kind with his time and sat down with me. We were at his Airbnb, and I was able to have this conversation that you're about to hear. We talk about all sorts of wacky things, and it was just a delight. He's a wonderful man, really funny and entertaining and quirky. So there's all that stuff. I think the most interesting thing about my experience doing the improv was that I could see how much you could parlay it into just regular life. All of life is improv. We're constantly improvising every second with every person we meet. David has a very Buddhist sensibility about improv, and that's fascinating to me. It's just very cool. The good news is he travels all over the world and brings improv classes everywhere he goes. So you can go to his davidrazowsky.com website and get him to come to your town or come to your improv group or whatever. Again, I'd never had an improv class before in my life, and I did it and had a blast. So I think all levels of knowledge in that realm are welcome. And I'll post on heyhumanpodcast.com a ton of links for this episode, as well as the obvious ways to get a hold of David. So, the usual stuff, of course, social media, Hey Human Podcast. You can find me on my own personal Instagram and Twitter at Susan Ruthism, and of course, SusanRuth.com. As I mentioned a second ago, heyhumanpodcast.com has all sorts of information, big old links page filled up with info. And it's also got the Amazon portal, which is a wonderful way to help support Hey Human and keep it going, is by using that Amazon portal to do your Amazon shopping. Please do that. That would be awesome. And while you're on the internets.com, you can rate and review Hey Human on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Most especially on iTunes, though, because it helps get the word out. It pushes pushes the algorithms in the right places. This is beyond my pay grade. I don't know how any of it works, but I know it does. So what else? Email me, like I said, Susan. Did I say that? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Susan@heyhumanpodcast.com. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being you and for all the support and wonderfulness. And for those of you that have been doing the support button on the website as well, thank you for that. It's really helpful. And I appreciate it very much. Okay, well, I think that's that. Let's get into it. Here we go. David Razowsky, welcome to Hey Human.
I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here
Me
also.
Too.
Welcome. I'm actually here. You're not here. I'm here because we're here.
Yeah, this is neither of our place.
No, it's lovely though.
It really is lovely. It's an Airbnb in the, what area would this be called?
I think we're in Finney Ridge. I'm gonna actually shut the doors because of that.
Oh yeah,
is
for
that
sure.
okay?
Yeah, for sure.
For noise control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because the planes are going overhead.
Yeah. Switch the knob on the guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay to have that guy open?
I'm sure it's fine. It's that one was really loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck that door.
Fuck that.
Finney Ridge. There was another word for it that was here, but I'll go with Finney Ridge.
Well, we're kind of a little to the... Wait, are we... I don't know. Fremont's around here somewhere.
Yeah, Fremont's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been 12 years since I've lived here, and it looks so different.
I really love it here.
Yeah.
This is really
Come
a
in the
cool
winter.
place. I have been here in the winter.
Okay.
I have been here in the winter. You know.
It can be oppressive.
Oh, I know a lot of people who just say, "Yeah, I lived in Seattle for 10 years," and I was just like, I was 1 month away from killing myself. But same thing in living in Chicago, where in February in Chicago, you just want to go, can somebody fucking do something about this?
Yeah.
And my dad and his wife, they moved down to Florida.
Well, they hit that age probably where you were required by law to move to Florida.
Yeah. A license plate on Florida should go, Florida, where Jews go to die.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they moved.
It's funny because it's true.
Funny because it's true. And my dad and his wife moved down there. It's like, oh, don't even bother. Fucking Florida, don't even bother. And the weird thing is that I got a lot of work in Florida, and I just cannot. I will not live there.
I don't think I'd want to live. No offense, Florida, but I don't think I'd want to live there either.
No.
The humidity, first of all, not a fan.
I don't care about the humidity. I care about the stupidity. Like you get out of like any like Miami Beach and that area there, and Orlando has great people in Orlando. But everywhere else, it's like
super conservative.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you are super not conservative.
I am super not conservative. There's got to be another way to saying that, but we'll just say super not conservative. And my ex-in-laws lived down there, and I always felt like there was just everybody was just one conversation away from saying the word kike.
Oh. Yeah, which is weird because there are a lot of Jews in Florida. But,
there are a lot of Jews in Florida, but not in those other places.
Right.
Not in like Homestead or Mary Esther or Eglin Air Force Base.
All those anti-Semitic alligators.
Yeah, right? Alligator Alley. There's just a bunch of alligators going kike. Crocodiles.
Wait, what's the difference again? Do you know?
I did know the difference, but I don't know the difference.
I wonder if...
All I know is I'm pretty sure that alligators... somebody right now is screaming at their phone.
They are.
Alligators, I think, only live in Florida.
Okay.
And crocodiles, because I think about, crocodiles, where would you see crocodiles? In horror movies coming out of the Amazon.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I would go with that. South America is a crocodile and America is an alligator?
Maybe.
A for America?
A for America, C for South America.
Colombia
and Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
It's Central America. Costa Rica.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up and learn those things.
Or not.
Well, now I want to know.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Now it's going to be niggly in the back of my head. See what I did there?
You use that word. It's a
good word.
It is a good word.
I haven't heard that word in forever. And
you know what's a really good word? Nascent.
That is a good word.
That really is a good word. And titular is another good word. Titular.
Titular. Oh,
titular.
Like it's titillating.
No, titular means Like it's
like he grabbed your boob when
like grab your boob, like titular. It's a side titular.
It's really itchy. Itchy titchy.
Yeah, it's titular means I think that if you would name your album your name.
Eponymous?
Oh, eponymous. Titular, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know what the word
I would
means.
look it up, but it's just a waste of time. Now people are yelling again at their phones.
They're playing at home.
They're playing at home. It's a home game.
Not the people in Florida, they already turned it off.
Oh my God, people in Florida, if they turned it on, I'm like, why are you listening to this? Why are you listening? Isn't there some kind of, I don't know. I don't want to get go there.
I go to the Key West Songwriter Festival almost every year.
Oh.
Have you ever been?
No. Why would I go to a Key West
Songwriter Festival? It's a lot of fun. It's quite debauch and it's a great time.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Key West is debauch in general.
Yeah.
Which I love that about it.
Debauch. Which sounds like somebody's name. Like Debauchka. Debauchka?
Debauchka?
Debauchka. Isn't that
Debauchka.
that's a songwriter.
I was gonna say it sounds like a composer.
It's a songwriter.
Yeah.
Debauchka. Debauchka. Somebody's yelling at their phone right now. Really good. I think that this guy did the soundtrack for I want to say
titular soundtrack.
Titular soundtrack for the Eternal Sunshine.
Oh God!
No, that was somebody else. Miss Sunshine, the Sunshine
with Alan Arkin.
Alan Arkin. God.
I love him.
Me too.
I love him so much.
His book is really good.
I haven't read it.
It's a really good book. He writes a book on improv.
Does he?
And it's one of these books. Yeah.
So I sent you that photograph when I was digging through my parents' record collection. I found that great album of the Second City from a billion years ago.
Right? They did a couple albums.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to listen to.
I would imagine that it's also dated, you know?
It was in one particular... There was one sketch that I thought, wow, that's right on the line of not being okay.
Because it was like my wife, or
it was something about I think they were, it was a black white thing, woman man thing, and it was right on the edge. But I mean, comedy is supposed to do that.
Well,
anyway.
it's fashion.
Yeah.
Comedy is fashion, where like what's in fashion goes out of fashion.
Yeah.
And more often than not, it doesn't come back into fashion. It's not like Nehru jackets or bell bottoms.
Yeah.
So once it goes out of fashion, comedically, I don't think it'll ever come back. I don't think anybody's listening to like Flip Wilson albums. I don't even know if you know who that is.
I do.
Yeah, so I don't know that anybody's listening to Flip Wilson albums. Maybe they are. I don't know. But there are some people like Nichols and May.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my God, they were like they're the best. Mike Nichols and Elaine May. So Mike Nichols went on to become a director.
Yeah. Okay, I know that.
Like maybe Academy Award-winning director, and Elaine May wrote. Probably the worst movie. She wrote Ishtar. She directed and wrote Ishtar, but she also did a bunch of other movies, and it's just really an amazing grouping. Listen to it, or if you go to YouTube, you can see there's some videos, and they are fucking hysterical, and it's classic because it's just relationships. Mm-hmm. There's a mother and son phone conversation that they have that's really beautiful, and they're the ones that really turned sketch comedy into. They were at Second City. The Compass Players, Second City, and then they went on to Broadway. And nobody had ever seen two people improvise or do sketch like that before, where it wasn't, it was the way that humans speak to each other. And that became just a center point of so much comedy at that time, and it just opened everybody up that suddenly comedy was also about being human and connections and that sort of thing, not just to make people laugh, but to make people think and to make people feel close and all that stuff too. But Elaine May and Mike Nichols were they're the best.
I'll have to
check them out. Really,
sure.
really check them out. I love them.
When you said his name by itself, Mike Nichols, I'm like, the director guy?
Yeah, the director guy.
Yeah.
And then he went on to...
He probably wrote, too, I assume.
What's that?
He probably wrote those movies, too. Did Mike Nichols do Kramer versus Kramer, or am I crazy?
Oh, that's Sidney Pollack, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Who I love, also.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Mike Nichols directed... I think his first movie that he directed... I want to say it's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh, okay. That's no easy task.
His first fucking movie.
Seriously.
And he also directed The Graduate.
Do you know, I just saw that movie last year in totality. I had only seen snippets, and wow, what a film.
What a film.
What a film.
And Mike Nichols, and nobody wanted Dustin Hoffman. Like, who the fuck is this guy, Dustin Hoffman? And they got him, and he was perfect.
Oh, such a
Buck
good
Owens, Buck Owens, not Buck Owens. Okay, I just can't remember. I was going to say Buck Owens, but it's not. Buck Owens, of course, is a country western musician. This guy who wrote it. I'll come back. People are screaming at their phone right now. Who wrote it? Wanted to be in it. He wrote the movie too, and he wanted to be in it. The Graduate? Yeah, and he wanted to be in it, and his name will come to me. He also produced and wrote on Get Smart, and I can't remember his name.
That's a classic.
Right now.
The original Get Smart.
The original Get Smart.
So funny.
Really, really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
I didn't watch the reboot, but...
I can't watch the reboot.
Yeah, but the original was so well done.
No, I'm not going to watch the reboot. And you know,
my dad had the biggest crush on the girl Friday.
Oh, fuck, right?
What was her character?
86 or something.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
But who wouldn't have?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, geez.
He loved her, and my dad worshipped Peel.
Yeah.
Like
Emma Peel.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're sexy British ladies.
Yeah.
Jeez, who wouldn't? Like, who's looking? Who would go, no, I don't, no Emma Peel for me.
Yeah,
no, thank you. Going,
her.
oh my God. When I think about all the crushes I had, I remember watching Some Like It Hot. Have you ever seen the movie?
I have.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of old movies.
Oh, it's such a great movie.
First of all, I think the writing back then was so sly, and the pacing of everything, the comedy, the comic delivery was so perfect.
I think it's a Frank Capra movie.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Somebody's yelling at them.
We're giving a lot of interactive moments. That's good. That's important. They can work out their stuff.
They're playing at home. Buck Henry wrote, not Buck Owens, Buck Henry wrote The Graduate with Mike Nichols and somebody else. So Buck Henry.
Yeah.
So I was watching Some Like It Hot on WLS TV in Chicago. I think I was probably 12, maybe 13. And there's a scene in it where Marilyn Monroe climbs into the Pullman bed on the railroad, on the train, with Jack Lemmon. Mm-hmm. And I remember her getting into that, like jumping in there, and they're wearing their nightgowns, and I'm going, oh my God.
Something's happening.
Something's happening right now. Something's happening. And I think everybody has had that moment of, something's happening that nobody really explains to you that will ever happen, where there's going to be a moment where you're going to know who you want to rub skin up, what gender you want to rub skin with, and that moment's like that person. I
think for me, I remember before Mel Gibson got to be it was, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Back when he was in Mrs. So Full, I remember there was a kiss in Mrs. So Full and Mel Gibson. I thought, OMG. I need to take a bath.
OMG spot.
Yes, exactly.
OMG spot. And I saw him yesterday. I was at a bar and one of those movies that he was in, not Die Hard, but what was the movie that he was in? Danny Glover.
Yeah.
All those movies.
Lethal Weapons.
Yeah, one of the Lethal Weapons.
Yeah.
And he was a really handsome man.
I so enjoyed Mel Gibson. As growing up, I love like a credible actor, all this stuff, all the things that happened. The Mel Gibson that I adored, and then the Mel Gibson that is now. It's such a bummer when people show their ass.
Kevin Spacey.
It's a great
fucking
example.
Kevin Spacey.
When people show their ass like that. Although, I would think that if you are a raging sociopathic narcissist, you probably make a great actor.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Or a president.
Or a president, sure, a politician in general.
Yeah.
So
I don't know
I get it, but
I don't know how.
Bummer.
If anybody says, whether President Obama's really, he's so full of himself. Let's keep in mind this: he's the fucking president of the United States. You have to be that.
Yes.
I want somebody to be confident.
Yes.
Inspiring. I want somebody to take a chance. Yeah. I also, and this is something that we're experiencing now that doesn't happen, a president who will say, yeah, I was wrong, or I'm sorry, or I'm with you, or I feel connected with you.
Very hard for a narcissist to do.
Very, very hard.
Yeah.
Really, really hard. And I would imagine that when you're a president and you're self-aware, to be mindful, not to be aware of what a narcissist is, and to check yourself.
Right. Before you wreck yourself.
Prior to wrecking yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, when Clinton said, "Oh, I did not have sexual relations with that woman," blah, 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 I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Say, I'm the president of the United States. I got a blowjob. It's none of your goddamn business. We're moving on.
Yes.
I would have respected that 1,000 times more.
But that was a different time.
I know, but it's
and now we're looking at this going like this. This guy now, who we have, I look at it, and I got to be honest with you.
I call him the bird dog.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. He bird dogged the country.
I also feel this. This is going to be a weird thing for me to say. Thank God for that guy. Because he has shattered so many people's sense of this cocoon that everybody's living in. Mm-hmm. And that shattering, there's more live art, performance, which is also art, opinion. People are expressing themselves in ways. Some people, I go, oh, what's wrong with you? But there's also the rats are coming up on the deck because there's water on it, and you're going, oh, you're a rat. Excuse me. You're a rat. You're a rat. You're a rat. Yeah. And now the rats are all coming up, and what
it
has
woke everybody up.
It woke everybody up. Everybody's woke. I don't know people who aren't woke, and if you're not woke, what the fuck? It's hard not to be woke. And as much traveling as I do, because I do a tremendous amount of traveling, I am, and I'm by myself a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm overhearing conversations, because that's one of the best things about being alone, is you really get to listen to conversations and hearing how people talk about this guy, and hearing how people talk about the country, and hearing how people feel about the future and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's the end of the world as we know it.
But I feel fine.
And as long as you feel fine, that's all. You should write it.
That should be a song.
That should be a song. Nah, I don't have time. I'm too busy sleeping. So it's, in many ways, I'm very thankful that he's the president. In many ways, I feel like he's the devil. People who get away with shit, I'm wondering, how the fuck do you get away with that? Mm-hmm. I have removed so many toxic people from my life. I don't know if I ever told you this. There's a book club that I'm the only member of. And it's called Fuck That Book. So you know that book that you have on your nightstand that you just can't finish? Fuck that book.
I agree with you 100%.
Oh my God. 100%. Absolutely. Fuck that book. Throw it away. Don't donate it. Throw it away. The book that you have on your bookshelf that you read, but you'll never read it again. Fuck that book. The book that somebody gave you that you don't like that person. You never read it. Fuck that book. That cover that you don't like. Fuck that book. And then you get to do things like, fuck that shirt. Fuck that shirt. I'm never going to wear that shirt. Or I wore that shirt with that person. Fuck that shirt. Fuck those pants. And then you get to go, fuck that friend. And I don't mean literally fuck that friend. I mean, you know what? That friend's more trouble than he or she is worth.
Yeah.
And it would really be easy for me, and I don't feel guilty about this at all, to ghost the fuck out of them. Because I don't want to have a conversation with you about why I don't want to hang out with you anymore. Right. Because it's not going to change you.
And it's also, this person's more trouble than I'm worth. I'm worth more than that. It's about understanding what you deserve too, where your time is best suited.
And what ends up happening is those people inevitably take over your movie. And it's your fucking movie. Your life is your movie. And now I'm spending time making them, they're just a co-star. How can they fucking star in my movie? Because I'm spending so much time thinking about, I gotta make sure that I don't say this or make sure that I don't say that. And I was married for 14 years, and I remember a student saying to me, you profess acting upon your truth, and you're not doing that in this marriage. And I went, yep. And then I went home and I asked for a divorce.
Wow.
Because that marriage was controlling my life. and I couldn't bloom. And I believe that relationships have shelf lives. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that that once you start a relationship with somebody, it never ends. Mm-hmm. It just changes. Mm-hmm. My ex-wife and I have a very, we have a really interesting relationship. The relationship is this, and we're really good at it. We're really good at this relationship. The relationship is this. I don't call her, and she doesn't call me, and we don't talk to each other unless it's our birthday, and then we text each other and go, happy birthday, which is a recent development. And I love that. And I would love to find out what's going on with her, but that's not the relationship that I have with her.
You told a story, so I'm taking your improv class right now. It's wonderful. And you told a story last night that I thought was yes, exactly. And I would love for you to retell it about the being in the bar with your ex.
Yeah. So, I had a really strong relationship with this woman, and we're friends now. And it was that hot and passionate, like soulmate sort of thing that you meet somebody, and then we broke up for whatever reason, and I hadn't seen her in 2 years, and I really avoided her, and then I saw her at a bar, and I totally ignored her for 3 hours, and it was the most work I've ever had, ignoring her for 3 hours, and it was as if the energy was this. It was as if I looked at her in the face and went, Jen. That's how much I was ignoring her, because I could not stop thinking about her being in that bar with me at that moment. And my ignoring her, I'm not ignoring her. She's taking over my life at that moment. I'm letting her take over my life at that moment. And I left that bar. I left the bar, and it was another year before I saw her on a street corner, and I went, and I just bumped into her, and I started crying, and she started crying. Mm-hmm. And that was like, she called me an asshole, because I didn't want to connect, and she wanted to connect. And she's a dear, 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 dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
But it's that thing where the only source of suffering is non-acceptance. And that was a great example of that. She's at the bar. She's right there. Fucking talk to her. And it's all about ego. No, I've got to stand up and I have to be, resilient and all that. Like, fuck all that. And she's really good at that. She's like, you were such an asshole during that time. I'm like, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was an asshole. But I needed to go through my process. And I'm sorry that I hurt you. That's the important part too. It's go, I'm sorry that I hurt you.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Not, I'm sorry you were hurt by whatever, but no. I'm sorry I hurt you. There's a huge difference in those two sentences.
Absolutely. And I remember when I was married, and I would always apologize to my wife, and I was like, how come I'm always apologizing and she's never apologizing? And then one time she went, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. And I'm like, yes, I got an apology. And then driving in the car going, wait, no, that's not an apology. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Which isn't an apology at all.
Not at all.
It sounds like an apology. It has the word sorry in it. It's I'm sorry that you feel that way. So it's 12%. It's 12% apology. It's the other 78% or whatever that would be, so 80, whatever it would be, is not.
Yes.
It negates it. But that's why it's really important to, as we say in the improv class, to live in every single word that somebody says, so that you aren't hearing what it is that you want to hear. You're hearing what it is that's being said. Mm. You're not listening to what it is that you want to. You're not hearing what it is that you want to hear. You're aware of what it is that's being said in that moment.
Well, I think actively many people are just waiting for their opportunity to talk. And so whatever, the Peanuts character that is being sounded off in front of them.
Usually a parent, the sound of a parent.
Yeah.
It's always a parent. Right.
And then they're like, oh, now it's my turn.
Right. Yeah. There's a Milan Kundera book. I can't remember. I've read a few of them. But, there's a Milan Kundera book.
Is that an acting coach?
Milan Kundera is a Czech writer.
Okay.
And
Did they bounce?
The unbearable, these bounce. Thank you. The Unbearable Lightness of Being. He wrote that book.
I love that book.
It's a really good book.
I'm terrible with the names of authors.
Well, Milan Kundera is such a good name.
Yeah, it's
Milan Kundera.
Yeah.
It's a really good name.
That's a great book.
And it's a really great book. And I'm not sure if it's in that book or another book that he wrote, where it starts out with a waitress overhearing people's conversations, and what she's noticing is exactly what you talked about, which is nobody's really talking to each other. Everybody's talking at each other, waiting for the other person to stop talking so they can tell them how interesting they are to that person who is talking with them or at them. And it's an active, listening is an active practice. You have to be active with it, and you've really got to pay attention to what's being said. And it's at times it's not easy, because you want to hear what you want to hear. And you're looking for the magic words. And we kid ourselves saying, oh yeah, I heard what they said, or I heard what she said, and you really didn't hear what she said. So we're not really connecting. We think we're connecting, but we're not really connecting.
Yeah. Were you born in Chicago? Mm-hmm. You were born in Chicago, okay. So as you were coming up, were you the kind of kid that already had these tendencies, for lack of a better word, and you didn't really know how to put a finer point on it? Or was this something that developed for you, this understanding? It's very Buddhist, right? This very understanding of being in the moment and actually actively listening, actively walking, talking without thinking, which is such a weird, to me, a dichotomy, like how to be actively doing something right now without thinking about it.
Yeah. There's a bunch of questions in there.
I know,
but that's okay. That's okay.
So
that's okay. I'm going to jump on. I'm going to pick the food that seems most interesting in that. Was I always like that? No, I don't think I was always like that. I think what ended up happening was I saw a lot of people. I knew a lot of people who really knew what they wanted and connected. Like, knew this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do. And I watched a lot of people say, I'm going to be a painter and to paint. And I never really knew what it was that I was supposed to do. And then one day I went, I think all that I knew was I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. That's really all that I wanted to do. And if I made money acting, that's great. I really loved acting. I also I started playing the guitar at the same time I started acting, which is in 4th grade. I remember my dad going, do you want to act or you want to play guitar? Because I'm not paying $2.50 an hour for somebody to come in, wasting $2.50 on guitar lessons. So I remember that, and then I remember thinking, and I think a lot of people are looking for what it is that they do best, right? And I remember thinking, I do so many things and I don't know what it is that I do best, but I know that I'm drawn to people and we're really creating these great things. And then I was in a bookstore at LAX, and there was a book called Buddhism Plain and Simple. And I started reading that book in the bookstore and I went, oh, Buddhism is a lot like improv, and improv is a lot like Buddhism. And how do I synthesize those two? And this is how I synthesize those two. Take the awareness that I have in improvisation and then take it outside of the theater and start noticing what's going on in the world, because I'm already doing that on stage, or I'm practicing that on stage. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. I'm practicing that on stage. And once that happens, a firewall comes down and you're no longer acting on stage and you're no longer walking around. You're just present to everything that's going on. And just because I walk into a theater doesn't mean that I'm thinking differently or feeling differently. I'm just in a different location and I'm the same person in that location, noticing those same things and being present to everything that's happening there. And a major part of what I'm doing, and this is all through experience, because nobody, I don't know, maybe someone will tell you this, but everywhere I go, I feel like I belong. Everywhere I go, not only do I feel like I belong, I feel like that's my place. Like right now, this is my place, and I just let these other people rent it out. this Airbnb. And when you feel that you belong everywhere, you feel comfortable where you are. Does that make sense?
It does.
You feel comfortable where you are, and you also feel that you belong. And when you feel that you belong, then there isn't that wall up that says, I'm a stranger. There isn't that wall up that says, they know something that I don't know. There isn't a wall up that says, I'm lacking information, because we're all walking around noticing shit. And I want to feel that I belonged. Because so often I never felt that I was belong. I felt that everybody else had the answer, and I never had the answer. And then you realize they have their answer. I have to find out what my answer is. And very often finding out what my answer is doesn't require you to find out what your question is. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, so what's my answer? My answer is this. And I don't even care about the fucking question. The answer is this. I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing what's here. And it's really fun to walk out somewhere and go, yeah, I'm on my way to the market. But while I'm on my way to the market, I'm where it is that I am. I'm not at the market yet. So I get to notice that house that's there, or that dog poop that's there, or that letter that's there. Or, there's a letter. I was walking today, and I always look down on the ground and I take pictures of things that I find. And there was a note that was on the ground. It was just a picture. It was a note. And the note was this. It's on stripe paper. What do you call that paper? Stripe?
Line, yeah.
Line paper. And it's not written, it's written perpendicular to the line, which is like, that's interesting.
In blue pen?
In blue pen on a white piece of paper. And it was on the ground, and it said, this is what it says. I know I'm ugly. That's just the surface. Get to know me. Throw a blanket on me and pretend I'm your dream couch. We belong together.
That's beautiful.
What?
It's very cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And if I was like, I'm going to the market. And I get to be on my phone too, sometimes too. I'm going to the market, as opposed to, I'm taking that step. I am taking that step. I am taking that step. And then you start seeing things, you start going, it's never about the destination. The destination isn't the destination. There is no destination. There is no place that you go where you go, that's the terminus, that's the end of the line. There is no end of the line.
It was never Ithaca.
No. You think it's Ithaca, but people don't just get sucked into Ithaca and then you never see them again. There's no end of the line. It's just a place that you go. Or it's a place where you are. And while I'm there, it's like, okay, great, here I am. I'm at the market. Or here I am standing over that thing.
Yeah.
That thing. And I find some really good, interesting things on the ground. I was walking through my neighborhood and there was a box of like fake Cheerios, like Sears Cheerios. It's not like Cheerios.
Lyrias?
Like, yeah, right. Montgomery Wardios. And it was like a box of Cheerios with the bag of Cheerios on it. Like somebody took the bag of Cheerios out and just put it on the box of Cheerios and then walked away. Like, what? Okay.
It's random.
It's random. Or it's not random. I don't know. Maybe I was supposed to see that.
Maybe.
And I was supposed to see that. And then I could tell you about it. And other people see it. And now we go hashtag things Razvines, on Instagram. And some of them are really stupid.
You have a good Instagram.
I do like Instagram.
Tell the lovely people what they've won. Tell what your Instagram is.
Which one? What?
Yeah.
My name?
Your Instagram name. Your handle.
D Razowsky. Drazowsky.
Yeah, I put links to everything on the podcast website, but it's just nice to say it.
Thank you, D Razowsky. And D Razowsky, and I do collages that are on the Instagram. Today I got a job offer. Should I say what it is? Yeah, I got a job offer. I can say what it is. WWE, the wrestling, they want me to go to Orlando and train wrestlers.
Makes perfect sense to me. It really does. I just interviewed a WWE wrestler.
Who?
Al Snow.
I'll remember that name.
Yeah, Al Snow.
But
really
you also did
Evander Holyfield. Yeah.
That's fucking fantastic. That's really great.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's a lovely man.
He seems like a lovely man.
Yeah.
He really seems like he's not the other guys. He's
No,
that
he's
guy.
a lovely man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad is he doing it anymore?
No, but he's
God.
pulling up and comers. You know, he's got
Yeah.
the Real Deal. It's called Real Deal Boxing or Promotion. Sorry, Real Deal Promotions. And then and man, his talent. The people that he's bringing up, they are talented boxers. Really, really talented.
See, there's no end of the line.
No.
And you know, in the class the other day where there was that guy who was going, I thought the scene should end right now.
Yes.
And I'm going, yeah, no, it's not going to end
I
right
had
now.
a lot of feelings around that whole thing. And I was trying to stay with what I was feeling as well as watching that go down. And at first I thought, well, this is really great because I'm learning so much listening to you talking with him and learning so much about his coming up against that wall. And then you trying to say, well, why don't you look around the wall or look over the wall? You don't have to go through the wall. Like, there are other ways, you know? And he was getting, in my opinion, it's mine, I get it, that his anger pitch was getting more and more. He was getting frustrated. And feeling like he was supposed to know more than you or something, or just different. I'm not really even sure what was going on because I'm not him. I don't know. And then it went past a point, and I thought, now that person is being selfish because there's 12 other people in this room, and it was really fascinating and a teachable thing up until here, and now this person is just being selfish of everyone's time.
And it's also interesting because I will not let him go. I will not walk away going, I will not stop in a situation. So essentially the situation was this, that his ego got in the way of him surrendering. And when you're acting, you've got to separate the ego from what the scene is asking you to do. And when you improvise as opposed to writing a written piece, a scripted piece, excuse me, in a scripted piece, you will surrender because your ego isn't connected, but it's still there. And when you're improvising, you seem to think that some people seem to think, and it's usually a man, seems to think that their person is being attacked, that they've got to hold on to their self, or people are going to think, you know, if his name is Daniel, that Daniel's a jerk, or Daniel's whatever. It's like if the actor's name is Daniel Marmoset, like Daniel Marmoset is not on stage. I called him Harold. So fucking let it go. And let it go. And he did not want to let it go. But I cannot just leave him. Which
I understood in the moment. I did understand that. But at one point, you know, you kind of were like, okay, how are you not getting that? You know, and then you...
But how are you not getting it is this. It has nothing to do with the moment. It's not that he's not getting it. It's that he is not ready to release, or he does not understand the concept of... Of the ego in terms of the work that we're doing. Yeah. And I think it's really important that everybody recognizes this, any artist recognizes this, that nothing beautiful has ever been created that was a union between ego and inspiration. Because ego doesn't like inspiration. It's not a match. Ego needs to hold on to self. Ego needs to hold on, like, this is who I am, and this is where I'm from, and this is what my history is, and all that shit. And I go, who the fuck cares what your history is? Because when I hire you to be in a play, that's what I need for you to do. So Robin Wright, who was the co-star with Kevin Spacey in House of Cards, she just did an interview today and talking about what it was like to work with him. And she went, this is what we did. We acted, the scene ended, we both went our separate ways, the scene came back, we acted. She said, I thought he was a very professional actor. I was really inspired by what he did.
He is a genius.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you look at all those things and you go, okay, that's what he was hired to do. That's what he's hired. But he was with her. Kevin was with Robin. Kevin the actor was with Robin the actor in those times that were necessary. And they both surrendered when they needed to surrender. Fucking surrender, people.
Yeah.
Surrender, Dorothy. Surrender. Let go of that which no longer serves you. And again, we go back to the idea of the only source of suffering is non-acceptance. And when you're writing a song, you will hit probably all the time, maybe less, certainly less now than when you first started writing, you're going to hit what you think is a cul-de-sac. It's like you just keep going around the same thing over and over and over again. And at some point, you go, yeah, that's not working. And then you get to ask this, what is working? And let's just go back to that. Let's go back to what is working. And then you've written the song.
It is interesting to me watching everything unfold. First of all, I love hearing when you talk to other people about whatever scene they're doing, and I'm watching it. I'm also a part of it, and I understand that. So you're teaching me while you're teaching them. I get that. I think that's a very important point, because I was getting frustrated also because there were people on their phones last night, and to me, it was as if they were talking out loud. And then I thought more about that. First of all, I thought, put your damn phone away. We're in a class. There's that, okay?
Can I address that?
Yeah, sure.
A couple of students came up to me and says, I will be on my phone taking notes.
That wasn't what they were doing.
Okay, fine. Then I also tell them this. This is what I tell them.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want on your phone.
Yeah. It was distracting. Though,
Love it. I totally get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't notice it. Nor if you are going to spend your time on your phone when you're with me, that's your thing. And you realize that in a class. But
that's where I was going with that. So the thing is first of all, they were on Facebook. I could see what they were doing. But here's the thing that it led me to as I was thinking about it was that you have to let go of so much in there.
In where?
In the class.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's that ego thing. And I was like, oh, they're in a place right now where they think they know everything, or that they don't need to hear what you're telling the newbie. Or, I'm a newbie. I've only taken another series from you, so this is my second series. But I think there's something that happens with people that think, I don't need to know this. That was just really interesting to see too, the levels of people's acceptance of letting go. And I think being on their phone was a way of them to protect themselves. They didn't want to let go.
Absolutely. There was a teacher that I had, Michael Gelman, who's the closest to a mentor that I look at. I've got a bunch of people that I really look at as mentors. And I was in, I did something called the Artistic New Direction, which is a great group out of New York City. We used to do retreats in the Catskills. And we would each take a group during the day of actors, and each, like 4 teachers. It was Gary Austin who started the Groundlings, which is where Will Klinger came from, and Pee Wee Herman, and all those people, and Michael Gelman and another teacher, and I, or a couple of teachers. Doesn't matter, Dave. Get on with the story. So we would work with groups during the day, and at night we would have a show for each other. And I worked with these people all the time that day, and then we did the show that night, and these fuckers did not do one goddamn thing that we worked on the entire day. And I'm pacing back and forth at the back of the theater going, what the fuck? And then Gelman's group goes up, and Michael Gelman is he was a Second City director, he's a teacher, he's an author, he's just a fucking great human being. And Gelman's group goes up, and they worked on something an entire day, and they didn't do anything that Gelman asked them to do, but Michael's just sitting in the chair going, ha ha. And I went to Gelman, I said to Gelman afterwards, like, how could you not be so fucking frustrated with these people? And he did this, and it's not going to, I don't know how I'm going to make it read on listening to it, but I'm making a big wide arc with my hand. It goes, this is people's learning curve, as he does a big wide rainbow. And this is what I'm responsible, and my fingers are probably a 1/4 inch apart. This is what I'm responsible for. Tiny little amount. I'm not responsible for anything else. Everybody is on their own time. And if you're ready, you're ready. And if you're not, you're not. And I also think that you probably have been through this too, where somebody gave you a note or somebody told you something years and years ago, and you parked it in a little place in your storeroom in your brain, and you're like, yeah, I don't know if that's true. And then 20 years later, you go, oh yeah. Yeah, you have the aha moment. Sure. You have that aha moment. And that aha moment, you get to have the aha moment when the aha moment needs to have the aha moment. Yeah. And we got to remember that the tip of the iceberg has the fucking iceberg underneath it.
Yeah.
And it pops out when it pops out. And there is no such thing as an aha moment that doesn't have thought prior to the breaking of the filter, of the aha, the breaking through that, whatever the filter is.
Yeah.
You know, people running through the thing at a football game, the football players running through that paper thing, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, and I think normally I would be in a place... Historically, I would be in a place where that I'd be like, it's on them. I mean, they're here. But I think because it was distracting to me, it was frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was trying to listen. And you had said something the day before, which none of those people were in the day before, but that when we were doing... It was a really cool practice where you had us walking across the room through a barrier of two people standing by each other. It was a fascinating experience. But in that, you talked all, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth because I'd like for you to talk about it, but the idea of being hyper aware to everything in the room as part of the improv experience. And I think because I'm in that heightened space right now, it made it that much. It was as if a conversation was happening right next to me. Mm-hmm. And so that was frustrating.
Yeah.
But talk about that, because that was a really cool, the walking thing that you did, the breaking through and the...
Yeah. It's two. So if you take a rectangular room, you put two actors side by side in a way that is sort of like they're at a door, you know, that each of them, one is the right side of a doorway and one is the left side of the doorway. And then you can imagine in between there, on the floor between them, is a threshold, you know, that thing that is at the base of all doors that the draft doesn't come in. And it's called a threshold because it used to be dirt on the floor and they would throw thresh or hay, and hay cost money, and so they would hold in the thresh with a threshold, a piece of wood underneath.
Oh, that's so cool.
It really is cool. It could be apocryphal, but it sounds like that could be the thing, you know. I've got a few of those things, like the term blah, 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 you know, and then I said blah, blah, blah. Like, where did that come from? And then I thought, blah, blah, blah is habla, habla, habla.
As in, do you speak this language?
As in talk.
Talk. Oh.
Habla, habla, habla. I could be wrong.
I love that, though.
I think, for me, I think that's how that works.
That.
I think that's how it works.
Let's propagate that one.
So, yeah, do that. And I don't need credit. So, the concept is this. That when we're walking towards something, but where it is that we are. So every step that we take, we are landing. We're never on our way somewhere. So if I'm near a doorway, and I want to go to that doorway, every step I take gets me closer to the doorway. Right? Mm-hmm. And every step I take that gets me closer to the doorway, there's a feeling that I have about it. Every step that you take towards something changes the feeling that you have towards that something. And then once you walk past that threshold, if you will, and that was the two people standing side by side, as you got closer and closer to that threshold, your heart rate increases, your breath, the tempo with which you're breathing increases. Something is kinesthetically happening to you. And for you to be aware of the kinesthetic experiences that you're experiencing while you're experiencing those experiences, that says at that moment, I am alive in this moment, at this place. I am at this place in that moment. And it's the idea of we're going to go back to the idea of the threshold. We cross a threshold. Every day we cross millions of thresholds. And to be aware when we cross over that threshold that we're going from one place to another, or I've just gone from one place and now I'm in another place, that helps us ground ourselves to being present and mindful to where it is that we are. So a threshold that we have, even when we wake up in the morning, before we even open our eyes, we are awake. And that's a threshold. Mm. And then when we open our eyes, that's another threshold. And for me, because I travel probably 250 days out of the year, and you travel a lot too, right? A game that I play is before I open my eyes, when I'm waking, because I haven't opened my eyes yet. You wake up, and I think when you wake up, you're awake, and then you open your eyes. Fair enough? Mm. When I wake up, before I open my eyes, this is the question I ask. Where am I? Where am I? Like, what physical place am I? Chances are I'm not in bed, in my bed, in our bed. I'm not in that bed. Where am I? What do I think I am? And then I go, oh, maybe I'm here. And I open my eyes and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not here. I'm at this other place. You know? It's just one of those things. Mm-hmm. So stop being, and the idea is this, stop going somewhere. Be where you are. Stop going somewhere. That's not saying just be sedentary. It's saying wherever it is that you are, be at that place that you're at.
Yeah, it was, to walk through those two people, it actually faltered my step. And it was such a weird experience. I think I described it as going through egg yolk or something.
Yeah.
It's like a membrane to go through. And the fact that it was just more air, but it wasn't. It's fascinating.
It really is. It's really, and the idea of, and we talked about liminal space, that space between, like as you're crossing, did I talk about liminal space at all?
I don't remember.
Okay, as you're crossing over that threshold where you're not in one place and you're not in another place, that's a liminal space. That space exists. It's like something you encounter a stimuli, a car crash, say the sound of a car crash, or you witness a car crash, and so you witness the car crash. Prior to you recognizing what's happening, there's a space right there where you don't know what's happening. That's a liminal space. That exists in your consciousness. And when you're recognizing those moments before you make a decision, where you're going from one state to another state, before you make that decision of whatever it is that you're going to identify that as, there's a space there. And that's a liminal space, and that exists. And when you start breaking down your life into those moments, you're very fucking aware of all the moments that are happening to you. And you don't have to dwell on them. You just have to go, well, that's a moment, that's a moment, that's a moment, you know? I have them all the time. Where I was at a bar last night after the class, and it's a great neighborhood bar, and I walk in and I order a sandwich. And the bartender's working around and doing it, whatever he's doing, and there's conversations going on, and then I hear the ding. And I go, oh, my sandwich is coming.
How Pavlovian.
It is, it's very much so, and I start salivating. But that's a liminal space right there, where I don't know what the sandwich is going to look like. I think I have it. There's no picture of the sandwich. I don't know what it's going to taste like. But I am about to go from one state to another. By hanging out in that liminal space.
It's really interesting. Have you ever been in a car accident?
Oh yeah.
The weirdest thing about a car accident, if it's a big enough one, which when I was a kid was in.
With your right arm?
No, I mean,
okay.
It was a big.
But you touched your right arm.
Yeah,
so
I did.
It's like,
I think that was a caregiving moment.
Great.
You know, I'm petting myself in the memory. I was run off the road by a drunk driver. The car flipped many, many times. And I was, 17? Maybe? 17? Yeah. And you weren't there. How do you know?
I'm going to say no, you weren't 17. No, 17.
I was on the edge of 17.
Well, here's the thing about 17. It's like, that's a really good age. 17 is a really good age. It's not 16, which is not okay.
No.
And it's not 18, which is like, oh, you're on your way to adulthood. Ugh. But when you're 17, you're like, fuck. That was really good. And there's that Ian, what's her name? Janice Ian song.
Janice Ian.
Yeah.
Edge of 17.
I learned the truth at 17.
I learned the truth
at 17. So you're 17.
That song is brutal.
It is fucking brutal.
It's a brutal song. And she lives in Nashville. I've been to breakfast with her a couple times. She's a lovely woman.
You know what? That song is really, and I remember when it first came out, and I remember thinking, oh, she's nailed it.
Yeah.
I learned the truth at 17. Just that line right there.
Yeah.
I learned the truth. At 17.
It's an epic song.
Yeah.
That's a good way. That's
that
a good
love.
descriptor.
Do you know the next line?
Love was meant for beauty queens.
Yeah.
Fuck, so good.
Right. I learned the truth at 17 that love was meant for beauty queens. Fuck.
Yeah.
Right? I learned the truth at 17 that love was meant for beauty queens. I want to know what those beauty queens look like now.
No. I'm guessing they haven't held up well.
No. And all the people that I know who are like of that beauty queen era at my high school, I'm going, fuck, how did you get 15 years older than I am?
Yeah.
Where we went to the same high school and grammar school and all that together, and now you look like what? And
to peak at 17 is a rough go, I think.
Well, it is a rough go, and also I think that when people are doing their, they're doing that 9 to 5 thing, and they go, yeah, I'm 64, I'm gonna retire next year. I'm going, What?
How old are you?
I'm 59. I'll be 60 on my next birthday.
But you seem quite young to me.
You're
very impish.
I am very impish, and I am impish, and I also feel like I don't have a lot of things that weigh me down. I've surrendered all those things that weigh me down.
Which makes you a great teacher, I think. Because you aren't... Well, from what here we go off that we're swerving off the rails from the previous, but I do want to get back.
We're swerving off the rails from the car accident.
From the car accident, which I do want to get back to because I wanted to speak to that moment. But I described this about you to someone else before, in that you're like this little bat that sort of hovers over someone when they're in that moment of trying to figure something out, and you're not telling them what to think. It's like it's almost like you become their subconscious or something. So you're not in the way, but you're like kind of whispering, like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's really cool because it doesn't feel like a browbeating. It doesn't feel like you're saying, I know more than you because I'm the teacher. It doesn't feel like any of that. It's just this sort of, let me take your hand and we're going to walk. It's hard to describe it, but that's how it feels.
I have nothing to prove. And when I say that, I have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
My life has been fucking unbelievable.
You've done a lot.
I've done a lot, and I've worked with a lot of fucking great people.
By the way, for those of you listening for the past hour, David, we haven't even said.
No.
I say it in the preamble anyway, but a master.
Let me introduce him.
A master improv actor, author, teacher. I mean, on and on and on.
And for me, I look at all those things and I go, yeah, I did that. And sometimes I'm really surprised going, oh yeah, I did that. I was at the Second City. I was the artistic director. I was at the Second City. I worked with Steve Carell, Steve Colbert, Amy Sedaris, all these great actors at a great time. At somebody called it the golden age of improv, and it really, really was. So I've done that. I played at the Kennedy Center with I'm a member of the Review Shakespeare Company. So
TED Talk, which is killer, by the way, and I will post that on the links page because it's so good.
It's really
loved it.
It really is great.
Yeah, I posted it on my Facebook page.
Thank you.
Watch this.
It's one of those things. Again, those opportunities. Like I don't pursue that. Yeah. It's just because and this is so fucking important. It's vital, is whatever it is that you're doing, that you're getting your rocks off on, keep fucking doing that thing, and don't worry about where you think it's going to lead to, or to find out what's the next thing, because the next thing will come as long as you're present with whatever it is that you're doing right now. Because whatever, you and I know each other for whatever reason. There was something that happened that put my meeting you into into orbit, that made it happen. And it only happened because you were doing what you do, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and then our paths cross. And that's true of every stupid thing. So when I'm teaching a class, this is a side rail that, but when I'm teaching a class, I'm not there to do anything but be the midwife to your voice. I'm not telling you, that's a Martin DeMott line. I'm not telling you what to say. I'm telling you, say it. Say it, say it, say it. And there's an empathy that comes from being present. And the empathy is what it's all about. When you're writing a song, you're being empathetic. You're taking on a character's voice, and you're expressing that with empathy. And you're not berating anybody unless that's the character in the song. You're going, this is what I need to do, and you're going to connect with it because I'm connecting to it. And then people feel connected to that. So when I'm side coaching you, which people have to get used to because I'm in your fucking face.
You are.
When I'm side coaching you, I need for you just to be present with me, and because I'm present with you, and I am not going to ever fucking let you go. And I get very emotional about that. I'm not going to let you go because fuck you letting you go. And I know what you're doing, and stop it. And when I say stop it, I'm going to tell you what to continue doing. I'm not just going to say stop it. I'm just going to say stop doing that. I'm going to say, listen, where you're going right now, join this. do this, just do this. And I used to say, do this just for me, as if you're doing me a favor. But it's a trick. It's like, just do it for me. We're not going to tell anybody. So it's that feeling of empathy. And also, I want you to have success.
And that's so apparent, which makes a great teacher.
Because the end result is you to have that light bulb go off. And there's nothing better. And even foremost over the check that you get for doing the gig, there's nothing better than to see somebody go, no. Oh, no. I get it now. That woman Joy in class, her name's Joy. Jesus Christ. Joy in class, to watch her go, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Or to see somebody who has never taken an improv class, like you. I watched you go, ding. It's like, there we go. Your life is ruined from now on. You have that going on. But going back to the car accident.
Yes. Okay. So in a car accident, especially a big one, time. I'm wondering, is that liminal, that weird thing that happens with time, where it slows to a near stop, and you are beyond hyper aware of everything happening because it's happening like that. It's the weirdest thing. And if you haven't been in a major car accident, you wouldn't necessarily know it, but it is so weird. What the fuck? Time takes on a whole new meaning.
Yep, it really, really does. And it's the same measurement of time. So say that you're tumbling for 25 seconds. That long. 25 seconds. That's how long that was.
Everyone on the thing just went, what the fuck
what's
is happening?
What's happening? We can make a little noise in the background. But that's 25 seconds. And those two 25 seconds are very different 25 seconds, but they're the same fucking 25 seconds.
Yeah.
So I go back to that really fun thing that I do where I talk about the first kiss that you have with somebody.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, at that moment, right before lips touch or whatever it is, there's that feeling, and you're going, you're living in, that's liminal space right there.
The threshold.
That's the threshold right there. That's that liminal space where you're going, I think there is no going back. You cannot car crash. We're in it. And just to be in it in that moment and to sit in it, to go, here we are. And I bet that if you talk to other people who are in car crashes, that's the same experience that they had, where time slows down, or as you're going, you may be thinking, I wonder if I'm going to die. I wonder if this is how I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, that's secondary to your thought of, this is happening right now. Mm-hmm. This is what's happening right now. And when you're improvising, the people that I like to improvise with are the people that go, this is what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. This is what's happening right now. And it's a magic trick that we do, where time slows down because we're in control of that. When I work a lot with tension, and it's like, let's fucking milk the fuck out of that thing. Excuse me. So people in the audience are going, please please stop it, but please keep going of not stopping it. Let's live in that moment right there. And that's the liminal moment. And that's the moment where we're in charge of what we're doing with the time that we're doing what it is that we are doing.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
It's really, it's good stuff.
Does a person audition for Second City? How does that work?
You audition. This is the way that you see it. I think it's probably still this way, because I've been out of it for a couple decades. You would audition for the training center, and then you would go through the training center, and then there would be a point where you get to audition for the touring company. And then you audition for the touring company. Some people didn't audition, like Chris Farley, who was there right before I got to Second City. Chris Farley didn't audition. Del Close, who was an improv guru, he was directing at Second City and hired him straight out. This woman, Bonnie Hunt. Do you know Bonnie Hunt?
I do.
Bonnie Hunt, straight out. you know.
I like her comic timing.
Oh, she's fucking great.
Yeah.
Former nurse.
I could actually see that.
Yeah, she was a nurse,
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of people like
That's empathy, though, right?
That really is empathy. That's empathy, and it's also fucking awesome, mouthy Chicago broad. I mean, really, really one of those people that you know where she's coming from. You know where she's coming from, and her truth is not hidden. And those are the kind of people who go, I like your moxie.
Yes. So you have I love it, your podcast, ADD Comedy. It's very good. Everyone should definitely subscribe and listen. And there's so many different, I mean, it's all in the same wheelhouse, but so many different thought processes and different personalities and things that people you talk to. There was one particular episode that I very much enjoyed. And is it Shira Piven or Shira?
Shira Piven.
Shira Piven. And you had this conversation together because she was formerly an actor and then she transitioned into directing. And you talked about transitioning. And it just really hit a nerve for me because as a creative, you know, we do all these things and then we maybe get to a point where like, okay, now I'm going to go over here. And there's that moment when you do that where you think, have I failed this thing that I was? If I'm going here now? And it's a very emotional threshold. So, but you said something really beautiful. I don't know if you remember, but it was about how it's not a denial of what has been or a giving up or any of that stuff. It's going over here.
It's just going over here.
So you said it much more articulately and beautifully, but I thought, fucking A.
Yeah, it's going over here. And it's not even going over here. It's I'm here. You don't have to go over there. You just suddenly find yourself over there. And it's not, there is no failure. Where it is that you are is where it is that you are. And whatever it is that you thought that you were going to do, this is a guarantee. You're not going to do that. It might look like that. I mean, it might have the essence of what it is that you want to do, but it's beyond your dreams of what it is that it's going to be. There are people that I know that always knew what they wanted to do. There are people that I know that always knew what they wanted to do, and they are. And I was always envious of that. As I mentioned earlier, I was always envious of people who always knew what they wanted to do, and I always knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't voice it until I said I want to make a difference in people's lives, whatever that was going to be. As long as I say it and I manifest it, I know I don't want to get too much in the secret, but as long as I say it and I manifest it, as long as I say it, it will then be manifest because I will say it. But the people that I know that always knew what they wanted to do are very few. Jackie Hoffman, who was in the company with me at Second City, who was in the company with me at Second City, we worked extensively together, always wanted to be a Broadway actress. Now, how many people want to be a Broadway actress? Millions of people. But she opened Hairspray. She opened Xanadu. Her understudy in Xanadu on Broadway was this woman named Whoopi Goldberg. She opened Addams Family. She was nominated for an Emmy in Feud that was on FX. Stephen Colbert always wanted to be Stephen Colbert. And he became Stephen Colbert. And then also did this thing where he also was Stephen Colbert. Steve Carell always wanted to be a movie star. And he's a fucking movie star. But those people are. This is also what happened to Carell, which is very interesting because he's on the podcast too. Is Carell wanted to go to law school, and he told his dad he wanted to go to law school. His dad was like, great, we'll make it happen. And then one day he went, I don't want to go to law school. I want to be an actor. And his dad didn't go, we're going to law school. He went, great, let's see how we can make that happen.
Wow, that's a good dad.
That's a fucking good dad. Because whatever it is that you think that you're going to do, you're not going to fucking do it. And then one day you're going to go, aha, my dad wanted to be a photographer his entire life.
What was he?
An electrician. But now he's a sculptor and an actor and all that. He just one day went, fuck it, I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Whatever it is that you want to do, there's an opportunity for you to do it. I know this sounds like if you can dream it, it can happen. But it's that thing where if you don't think that if it wasn't meant for you to even try it, it wouldn't be in your orbit. And once you break the seal and you start doing that thing, you can't undo it. Once you have that relationship to that thing, you will always have that relationship to that thing. So if I wanted to be a sculptor and I enter into a sculpting class, I'm a sculptor. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like at that moment. And when people say things like, I really want to try to be an actor, I'm like, what? You know, I know it's Yoda-y, but it's like, don't try. What the fuck does trying look like? Mm-hmm. Try is a weasel word that you use so that because you think it's not going to fucking work and you say, well, at least I tried. Like, fuck you.
Well, you said that and you reminded me of my friend Monty Powell, who's a big hit writer from Nashville.
I thought you were going to say a big Hitler.
No.
He's Monty, yeah.
But when I first met him, he asked me a question. I said, well, it's kind of like that. He's like, there's no such thing as kinda. It either is or it isn't. And so when you start talking about binary, yes, no.
It's either yes or no.
And I thought, that's so, first of all, that is so empowering on so many levels. When you stop fudging and just say yes, no.
Right.
It's awesome. I mean, if anything, if you get anything from taking classes with you, I think that's a huge one, really.
Yeah, that binary, that feeling.
I don't know, maybe for me at least, it's such a big deal.
It's also when you're dealing with somebody who says yes or no, and you know that they mean either yes or no, that you know where you're standing. And you also know where it is that they are, too.
What was it you said something about, I kind of like you?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So when somebody says, I kind of like you, it really means I mostly don't like you. Because it's kind of. Because if I say I mostly like you, I guess that's clearer. But if I say I kind of like you, it's your way of protecting yourself from saying I like you. And I can also say that phrase, I like you, I really like that phrase. I mean, I love Laura, but I also really like her. I really, really like her.
And sometimes all the time, I would say that that's more, arguably, you to love somebody for all the things you don't like about them, that's real love, right?
That is. Yeah. Yeah. And I yeah, for sure. And I go, oh yeah. And when you think about somebody, and it's kinesthetic response where we talk about, there's something called the viewpoints, and there are 9 viewpoints, and I don't want to get into them, but one of the viewpoints is called architecture. And what it does is the viewpoints codify everything. It really sounds like hyperbolic, like how does it codify everything? But it doesn't codify everything. So one of the 9 viewpoints is something called architecture. And architecture is, it's the walls and the ceiling and the floor, but architecture is also the relationship that you have with something. So I'll take your keys, the relationship that you have with your keys. Like, you have a relationship with your keys, and they're just keys until you can't find them. And then you really miss them. You know what I mean? And there's also architecture in, you say, words are architecture. A word is architecture. I say Hitler. There's an emotional connection that you have. If I say lose your keys, there's an emotional connection. If I say found your keys, there's an emotional connection. If the moment that I think about you, I go, I really, 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 really like that person. And when I see you, I go, I really, 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 really like that person. And so I have a relationship to all these things, and I'm very mindful of those moments when that happens. And so when somebody, I get to say to you, I really like you, without fear of whatever it is, like fear of like what you're going to take away with it or what you're going to do with it. And it really doesn't matter what you do with it.
Because what I think doesn't matter.
What really. You think doesn't matter. How about that?
Yeah, that's such a powerful thing to understand too. So a really good friend of mine about, 4 or 5 years ago, she and I were in the middle of this conversation, and I was having some anxiety about something. And she said, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. And I said, what's that? Her name's Kathy McHugh. She said, what other people think of you is none of your goddamn business. And I was like, oh, holy shit! Like,
it's a really hard thing for people to wrap their head around.
But it's so freeing!
It really is freeing, but people want to hold on to it. People want to say, I had an ex-girlfriend who I said, what other people think about you is none of your business. And she really had a hard time with it because, no, I've got, in order to get employment, in order to get a job, in order to, it's like, you know what? No. Literally, it is not your business what they think about you. And once you and I have this conversation, whatever it's going to be, you go on your way and I go on my way because you aren't directing my fucking movie. And you aren't in charge of my business. I'm in charge of my business. And every once in a while, I'm going to give you a little bit of my business. I'm going to give you the business. I'm going to give you a little bit of the business. But for the most part, I don't give a fuck what you think. And, I mentioned in class the other day that somebody wanted to use a quote of mine, and I don't remember saying it, so I Googled that quote to see if I said it, if I was associated with it anyway, and I couldn't find it. But I did find this Reddit thread. And the Reddit thread was called, "Would somebody please explain Dave Razowsky to me?" Well, first off, I had to figure out what Reddit was because I don't know. Grandpa don't know no Reddit. And the moment that I saw that, it was a really wonderful opportunity to be really mindful and aware and present to that liminal space. The liminal space at that moment is this: I don't know what I'm going to see. That's a place. I don't know what I'm going to see. And whatever I do with the thought after that is my decision. So I don't know what I'm going to see. Liminal space. I don't know what I'm going to see. Liminal space. I hope it's not fucked up. Because if it's really fucked up, then I'm starting to project something on it instead of saying, I don't know what I'm going to see. Do I want to open it? Do I not want to open it? And I said, if I'm going to open it, I have to be at peace with this. What other people think of me is none of my business. And to look at it from that way. I don't know. These people have names like Daniel 9965 Green. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. I have no friend whose middle name is a number. I kind of wish I did now. So...
Wait about 10 years, you will.
Oh, you will. And it's going to be on their forehead. Or their arm. Anyway, so, right? So,
dark.
Dark. Suddenly things went dark. But at that moment, I would just open it up and I'm looking at it going, okay, people are saying Dave Razowsky yells at students and he really gets in your face. And I'm thinking, absolutely. I yell at people and I get in their face. But there's something underneath that you have to experience, and these people didn't experience that. Am I mad at them? No. Why not? Because I don't know them. And here's another thing, it's none of my business. Even, my dad, what he thinks about me, like, that's a good one. My dad, your folks are from academia, right? And so you probably always look at them and go, they're smart people, but they're people. And have that,
the moment you understand your parents are human beings and not... They just happened to have sex one day and there you were.
Absolutely.
That to really take the equation of parent out of it.
Oh, how about the one in the podcast about fisting? And one of your girlfriends from grammar school found pictures of her parents.
Her mom.
Her mom and a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And her mom was being fisted, right?
And we were like, what is this?
Oh, yeah, clearly that. But it's also at that moment going, then later on you get to go, my mom's somebody who...
Has sex and gets fisted.
Absolutely.
And whatever,
yeah, my mom's someone who has sex.
That's a great episode.
It really is a good episode.
Porn star episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and the word like porn, every time like porn star, pornos, that came up in that podcast. I experienced that word, the architecture of that word, the word, and how do you, and your guess was really good because he really, what's his name?
Benjamin.
Yeah, he separated the shame from the porno, and when you separate that to go again, what other people think about me is none of my business. And he had this whole character that he did, and he also made you muffins or whatever the fuck it was,
so good. Yeah,
but again, he made you muffins. Macaroons. Yeah, he made you macaroons, and you go, oh, he's a porn star or whatever it is. He's a porn journeyman. He's a porn star, and he makes macaroons. It's like those two things aren't necessarily they go together with him, and he gets to be that guy because what other people think about him is none of my business. It's none of his business. And he, being a gay man growing up in South Carolina and then moving to some other place and getting no support from his family.
In fact, ostracized.
Absolutely.
For being gay.
Right? And he could have gone another way, but he went, I gotta survive. And how do you do that? You go, what other people think about me is none of my business. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. Even me. Saying that to somebody. Like, whatever I tell you, it's none of, take it and fucking throw the rest of it away. I can give a shit.
And it's certainly something that it was such a gift to have her say that to me. I'm not great at it 100% of the time, but I certainly, at this point, I'm getting to maybe 85% of the time, which is great. And I hope eventually I'll get to that 100, but maybe I won't.
Well, that story about me, in the TED Talk, me shouting out in front of 1,800 people in a play.
That is I don't want, because I want people to watch the TED Talk, so don't.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that that every time, like I tell that story, that's vague enough. Mm-hmm. Every time I tell that story, I'm waiting for the shame to come, and it doesn't come because I don't have that.
Well, you don't live in the past either, it seems.
No. And every time because there are things that I've done, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't a cool thing. And I get to go, that's all. That wasn't a cool thing. And not to go in the past and live in that going, oh, and because that takes me out of the moment that I'm in right now. One
of your podcast episodes, you were talking, and I texted you, I said, I really like this episode. Is it Josh Beal?
Josh, no.
Bland.
Joey Bland.
Yeah. Joey Bland. It's a really great episode. And you had a moment where you were talking about a newer improvisational person might beat themselves up for not sort of saying, oh, I'm sorry I didn't meet you at wherever you were right then. Why didn't I say this or that or the other thing? You sit down and you live in that shame spiral, which isn't, what's the point of that? And you said something to the effect of, do you want to stay in that hell? I think that's something about that. Do you want to live in that hell? And I thought, yeah, exactly. My God.
Get out of it.
Yeah.
And another, that might have been, because I talk about this sometimes too, the idea of you weren't airdropped into your life. The choices that you made at that moment were made based upon experience that you had prior to that moment. Mm. And you were sane. And you were probably sober, or maybe you weren't sober. It doesn't matter. But everything that led up to that thing that you're looking at and that you regret, like, fuck your dumbass regret. Because you didn't suddenly just drop in to this scenario and go, I'm going to do that. Your choice of I'm going to do that is predicated on everything that led up to that point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I get to go, well, that happened. And I will not anymore, no more will I beat myself up because of a decision that I made. Because whatever decision I made because I was compelled to do that. And I've never hurt anybody physically. I mean, I might have hurt people's feelings, but at that moment I needed to do that. And very often I feel like I've hurt somebody's feelings. It's never too late to apologize. Mm. And they may not even be thinking that you need an apology. 9 times out of 10, I look at people and I think, how do I know that person? You know what I mean? When you meet somebody and you go, I know that person. When you're 60 years old, 59 years old, you've met a lot of people. And I meet some people, women, and I'll go, did we make out? Did we sleep together? Because I think we might have slept together. I can't remember. I don't know if that ever happens to you. But for me, like every once in a while I'm going, oh, I really have to be careful what I'm saying to that. I really want to make sure that, because I'm not sure if we did make out. Maybe we made out.
How often do you get a response to that one?
I don't ever bring it up.
Okay.
It's just a conversation that I have in my head going, oh, yeah. But there are certain people I go, oh, I clearly made out with that person. I clearly made out with that person.
You do live in LA, for God's sakes.
I do. I think, but I've made out with people, less people in LA, because most people I made out with in LA have been relationships that I've had. But it's those other places where I'm like, maybe it was sleepover camp when I was 16. Like, I might have made out with you.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. In college.
Historically, did you beat yourself up as you were coming up in the world? Did you have a lot of... Yeah, he did.
Yeah. A lot of that. Why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? Well, how come I did that? And then again, you just wake up one morning and you go, I gotta let all that go.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is thinking about that. And there are people that, and I know this for a fact, there are people that, I was at a table with a bunch of my friends and we were talking about people not liking you, and I was thinking, I think most people like me. I can't imagine nobody not liking me. And then driving home, I'm thinking, I'm the only person at that table who's divorced. I could think of one person who doesn't like me. And I could think of relatives of hers that don't like me too. So it's like, yeah, what the fuck am I talking about? People don't like me. And when you get divorced, it's one of those things where you go, yeah, there's going to be somebody. I am shattering a bunch of fucking things right now.
I think if you are living your life, there's going to be people that don't like you, period.
Absolutely.
For no reason at all, other than maybe they don't like your face, they don't like the way you laugh, they don't like something you said, they don't like the way you smell, they just don't like you because they're not a person that likes people. Or maybe they like everyone except you.
Or maybe you remind them of somebody who injured them in some way.
Sure.
And any actor who goes in and goes, I tried my best at that audition, I had a coach and we were all ready and I didn't get the part. It's like, maybe you look like his ex-boyfriend. You have no idea why that happened. Mm. So let it the fuck go.
Back to what other people think of you.
Absolutely. And all of this is ego-based. What other people think of you. So when we're on stage together and we're doing a scene together, that's why I emphasize, when you're up on stage with me, you're not on stage with me. Susan is not on stage with me. There's this empty shell that we both fill each other up that's on that stage. So whatever it is that I say or do, I know good touch from bad touch. Whatever I say or do is not me. Mm-hmm. I'm the artist, and it's coming through me. And if you have a hard time with it, then leave. Yeah. Leave. Because, that's okay. You want to go. So at the end of every class, I ask my I say, what did you get out of this? And if somebody says nothing, I'm like, great. Last night there was a woman who I didn't know what she got out of it. And I felt like she said one thing, and I was like, I don't think she got anything out of it. And then she said something else, and I was like, or maybe she did say something. That maybe she did get something out of it. And then I thought, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I wonder, though, how many people take the class who are not necessarily people who want to go into improv or be improvisation. Sorry.
Improvisers?
Thank you. There it is. Who go home and then the unpacking of it takes a period of time.
Oh, absolutely. I go back to Michael Gelman, the director that I had. It was 1989, and I was a student, and he was my improv teacher, and he said, or my director, and he said, stop, what do you want in this scene? And I said, this is what I want. He goes, that's not what you want. I'm like, I fucking think that's what I want. I know. He goes, that's not what you want. I'm like, Michael, that's what I fucking want. And he laughed. He goes, that's not what you want. I'm like, fuck you, Gelman. And I think I stormed off, and I'm like, fuck this. 20 years later, 2009, I'm teaching a class, and I go to a student, what do you want? And they said, that's what I want. And I went, that's not what you want. And then I went, fuck, it took me 20 years to get that note. It took me 20 fucking years to get that note. And that's as long as it took to get that note. And Michael, of course, wanted me to get it right away, and I didn't get it right away. Because I wasn't supposed to get it right away. Because the elements weren't there for me to get it right away. Mm. As much as he wanted me to get it right away, I didn't get it right away. Mm-hmm. We know what it's that we know what it is that we need to know when we need to know what it is that we need to know. And it's that, and you wanting to get it right away doesn't make you get it right away. And if you're impatient with whatever it is coming to you that you deserve or think that you need, the times that you're sitting there thinking, this is what I deserve, you're fucking missing what's happening right now. Everything that's happening right now. Everything that's around you right now. You thinking this life owes me this. It's like, fucking life doesn't owe you anything. It's an existential experience. We're here to experience this experience and to be aware that we're experiencing this experience. No matter what the fuck it is that you're doing, it doesn't fucking matter. You could be a Zen Buddhist monk driving a cab, or be a Zen Buddhist monk doing brain surgery, or being a Zen Buddhist monk sitting underneath a fucking tree. Be there.
Amen.
Amen.
David Razowsky. I could probably talk to you for days, Adam, and this has become a series. DavidRazowsky.com.
Yes.
And you travel all over the world. I just want them to know, anybody listening that thinks, my gosh, I want to bring this guy to my place. You travel all over the world and do
this.
Well, not
I
this,
do,
not the podcast.
not podcast, but sometimes I do. I travel around the world and I teach improv classes, which are really basic classes about.
And not yes and. That's
no.
And maybe for just a second, talk about that, because I think most people think that improv is the yes and thing, and what delights me is that yours is not that thing.
No, mine is really, it's a theatrical Buddhism, and that even throws people off, but it's the idea of recognizing the feelings that you're feeling in that moment and expressing those feelings and breaking it down to the most to its very element. So I don't start a scene, no scenes that I'm doing, I don't get suggestions. I will look at you, look at the way that you're sitting, and I will say, oh, you're sitting like you're judging me. Like it looks like you're judging me at that moment. And I'll go, you're judging me. And now we have a scene. Because you get to go, I'm not judging you. And then we have our scene. And that's it. And it's avoiding all the rules. And I think a major thing about the work that I do is, somebody asked me the other day that somebody wanted me to come to them to work with them and say, I need my group to be funnier. And I went, that's not what I do. I mean, there is humor in it, and the humor comes from being human, but I'm not going to teach you how to be funny. I'm going to teach you how to be human. I'm going to not teach you how to be human. I'm going to remind you how to be human. And that's what we're doing. So it doesn't matter your provenance, what school you went to, none of that matters. All that matters is, are you present with me while I'm sitting and talking to you? Or are you thinking about, when's this class going to be funny? Because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you and I are connected in this moment, and that we're vulnerable, and we're open, and we're honest, and we have no attachment to anything other than to connect in this moment. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's looking for something where I'm going, I need to have more of a connection to people or feel more connected to somebody, improv is a great way of doing it. There's so many improv schools. Find one, like go out if you're ready to go. If you're saying, I need to bust this shit open, go to a bunch of schools and see what gels with you and see what doesn't gel with you. What's interesting about the work that I do is very few people are doing what it is that I'm doing. I don't think there's really anybody doing what it is that I'm doing. And so that Reddit thread, would somebody please explain Dave Razowsky to me? Because they're not used to that.
Well, you said something that I thought really nailed it. You said you say yes to the actor, but you can say no to the character.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, in a nutshell, sums it up. That for anyone that fights that yes and obligatory concept, you're still saying yes. You're just not saying yes to the character.
Absolutely. So it's sort of, if I say to you, so you're playing a patient and I'm playing a doctor. Or if you're playing a doctor and I'm playing a patient, and I say, Dr. Finster, I want my test results, and you say, no, I'm not giving you your test results, what you've done in that moment is you have said no to the character. But what you also done is you said yes to the actor, and that yes is this, let's go at it. I'm not going to give you the test results. And I'm going to go, come on, doctor, I need the test results. And you're going, no, I'm not giving you your test results. I need my fucking test results. I'm not going to give you your test results. Like, I will fucking rip your head off if you fucking don't give me the test results. Like, at that moment, now we're off and running. Good.
But if you had said,
Dr. Finster, well, let's do that.
Okay.
Go.
Dr. Finster, I need my test results.
Okay, here.
And scene.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And then there's the other one, which is saying no to
The actor. Okay, so let's do that.
Dr. Finster, I need my test results.
I'm not Dr. Finster.
Right, or I don't have any results, or whatever.
Well, even I don't have any results still acknowledges that there's results. But if I rip the absolute core out of everything, denial is Dr. Finster, I need my test results. Like, I'm not Dr. Finster. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's just a dick thing to do.
Oh, it's such a fucking dick thing to do. And it's so, you talked about that, you brought up the word selfish. It's really fucking selfish. It's like, oh my God. And there's, it's either apocryphal or it really happened. So Del Close, who again is like the guru of modern improvisation, was at Second City and when he was an actor at Second City as well, and Joan Rivers was in the company. So it was Joan Rivers and Del are in a scene, and the scene is in a hospital, and Del says to Joan Rivers, she goes, it's like, I'm going to have to be in the hospital for a long time, Joan Rivers says. And Del goes, well, what about the children? And Joan says, we don't have any children. And that is always the perfect example of somebody denying the actor as opposed to the character. Mm-hmm. And for me, whenever I hear that thing, it just it gives me the runs. Going, oh man, why'd you do that? We were playing make 'em up. And who doesn't have a friend when they were younger who didn't want to play make 'em up? It's like, I shot you. You're playing war or whatever. I'm sure that kids don't do that anymore. But it's like playing war. It's like, I shot you. I shot you point blank. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, oh, fuck you, Claude.
Yeah.
Claude. It's always Claude.
Is a great name.
Claude.
Are people named Claude anymore?
I have only known one Claude. It was Claude Batat. Claude Batat. He had the greatest fucking toys. And he wouldn't let you play with them. Oh, he had a closet full of toys like Incredible Shrinky Dinks and all those ones where you had to plug them in toys. They're like, if this creates bugs and, like those kind of toys.
Oh, man.
But if you weren't his friend, or if you weren't friendly to him, his name was Claude Batat.
Claude was withheld his love.
Well, yeah. And I also believe that Claude's parents withheld their love from Claude.
Clearly, yes.
Yeah.
Clearly.
And I think I Googled him not too long ago, and he's doing well. I think he was, I want to say they were from Luxembourg or Belgium. Mm-hmm. It sounds Belgian, doesn't it?
I would, sure.
His mom sounded French, but she was probably Belgian. Batat. Claude. No, there's no baby in an American... Like, if they're right, and if you're going down, what's your baby's name? Claude. So I want to yell at the parents going, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? How would you do that? Why would you do that? I have a friend who named their kids, he's so fucking great. His kids are just the greatest people on the planet. And they have, it's Gwyneth and Osha and Levi and Kaya.
Ooh, Kaya, that means life, right? Or
Kaya, maybe it means life. It means pot, too. Pot. But it's like going... And these people are the fucking salt of the earth. So it's like, it's all about the parents. But they grew up in Berkeley or fucking
those
Oakland.
are hippie names.
Fucking hippie names.
Levi's biblical, I guess, so is Kaya. But, I said this the other day. I don't think my parents got my name right. So names are...
Yeah. I think that you should, when you're, okay, you have an opportunity. In my world, this is what I think needs to happen. When you are born, you're named. Then when you're 19, you get to go in front of a panel and pitch your new name. Mm-hmm. And then when you're, 40, you get to go in front of a panel, if you want, and pitch your name, a new name. So you have an opportunity to change your name.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me. I believe in reincarnation. I am woo-woo like that. But I also believe that we have reincarnation within each incarnation. Because the person I was at 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever, those people... Yes, they're an onion of me, fine, but I'm none of those people.
Right.
I'm all of those people, and I'm none of those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was married, my wife's name was my wife was Kate, which is exactly her name.
Kate.
Kate. She was Kate. She was clearly a Kate. I love that name, and I love Kate. And then one day I remember her saying, I said, Kate, we gotta go. And she goes, yeah, that's not my name anymore. I went, oh, what's your name? She goes, I'm Katie. And I wanted to go, we should talk about this. You can't just go and change your name. I don't know why I felt that. I didn't say it. And I went, okay, it's gonna take me a little bit to get used to. Because Kate and Katie are two different names. Because some Kates want to be Kate and some Kates want to be Katie.
Yeah, don't you dare call me Susie. I'll slap you.
Oh, fuck no.
Or Sue. Don't like it. For
No.
me, it's fine on other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Dave or David. I have no, you can call me whatever you want. It doesn't matter. My brother's Jordy, but his wife calls him Jordan. Kate never called me anything but David, which always made me feel like I did something wrong. Yeah. So, yes.
What's in a name?
What's in a name? And I always loved my brother's name, Jordan. Great name.
Jordan's a strong name.
Jordan's really, Jordan Michael. Very, very strong name. My sister's Rachel Ida.
Rachel,
my dad's
also
Jerry.
a strong name.
Jerry Gerald. My mom was Joanne. Joanne.
I love it when women have men names. I'm a big fan of that.
This is what I think.
Sam, Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Joe.
You just named two of my grandparents.
Ah.
Sam and Alex. So this is what I think. There are men's names and women's names, and then they go out of style, and then they become dogs' names, and then they change gender, especially with men, and then they become women's names. Sam, Alex, Bobby.
Sure.
I have a challenge with this.
Jeremy. My brother's name's Jeremy. I think Jeremy is a really cool girl's name. If I'd had a daughter, which I have no children, but if I'd had a daughter, I would have named her Jeremy.
That's a good name.
I think it's beautiful to name.
Yeah.
A girl.
It's just a name. I'm also. It sounds like a joke, but I really wonder why this happens. When you're giving a number of a phone number, you know what 4 is. You know the number 4. You don't have to say 4 as in whatever. You know where you go D as in David. You know.
I think we do that because of sound, though, because of
I know.
fricatives and stuff.
So why don't we make names of numbers? What's your name? 967. And it's like, you don't go, how do you spell that? It's 967.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear.
I think they tried that in the 30s.
Did they? In the 30s in certain
40s,
places.
yeah.
30s and 40s, yeah, in certain places.
I think around 1939.
Somebody ruined it.
Yeah.
Those people ruined it for
Somebody's gotta
everybody.
ruin it
Absolutely.
for everybody.
Or I think also you can have like the concept of a silent letter in the middle of a word or a name. Like, what's that doing there? And why don't we just put a silent number in the middle of somebody's name? Just throwing that out there.
Good question. David Razowsky.
Thank you very much.
I had so much fun.
It was really fun. It was really fun. It could have gone on forever.
I think
so I'm going to
so.
stop talking right now so it doesn't go on any longer.
Thanks for listening, everybody. DavidRazowsky.com.